All right, this is our presentation for our Natural Resources Recreation term project. Um, my name is Bailey Eldridge,
And my name is Adam Akins.
and we were assigned the Firebreak creation at the ABAC School Forest, and the location we were given was the Christmas tree track. All right, so why we chose this project, we were given all of the topics available at the beginning of the semester, and Adam and I decided to become a group and we discussed it with each other, and we both kind of mutually agreed that the Firebreak creation would be the most beneficial activity for us to do given what we want out of our careers as natural resource managers. We just really feel that the skills that we would gain from doing this project would be the best outcome for this project. And that's the experience and skills that I'm talking about are things such as identifying potential fire hazards when preparing for a control burn, um, maintaining communication with stakeholders, which is something I know that I really struggle with. I'm not so great at communication, but this project has definitely brought me out of my shell and made me be able to reach out to the people I need to reach out to get this project done. Okay, and then we needed to be aware of the particular tools and methods that we needed to complete this project and eliminate the said fire hazards. This project also helped us as far as working in a group to effectively complete this task, keep each other on task, um, make sure, be responsible for each other, getting out and doing our parts in this project.
Okay, so the intentions for this project, it was the need for a fire break creation and maintenance at the ABAC School Forest is to provide a learning setting for students in natural resource management to participate in prescribed fire activities, giving us a class the experience to and skills necessary to conduct similar actions as we advance in our careers as natural resource managers. And also provides an environment to study many different ecological components whose objectives vary from course to course, such as dendrology or herbaceous, or for classes that participate in prescribed fires and control burns, such as fire ecology. It also needed to be wide enough for the ability to get an ATV or UTV or a brush hog to maintain to get through the fire break. The reason behind wanting to get an ATV or UTV through on the fire break is so that, God forbid, an incident occurs and a student needs to be accessed. It gives the ability for the student to be accessed and get removed to safety as efficiently as possible for the student.
And just to add to that, safety as far as making sure that you don't have a spot fire occur from embers coming over. I just wanted to make sure that it's wide enough to prevent that possibility.
So our stakeholders for this project were Mr. Kip Hall and Dan Alazin. During the completion of the project, we mostly communicated with Dan about where the locations for the lines were to be put, and he also provided us with the tools that were needed to complete the project and clear off the overgrown fire break lines that were already created to clean them up.
All right, so our locations for this project, originally we were given this location that begins at the gate on Adams Road on the Christmas tree track, and you go enter the gate and immediately go to the right. You can see that there's already been a trail established. It just needed to be cleaned up a little bit and maintained and taken a little further down if time allowed. Then we were given a secondary location, which we spent most of our time on, um, farther down the Christmas tree tract. Um, it was an existing ATV trail that surrounded, you can see the pine stand in here, the rows of planted pine, and it was surrounded on this end that we worked on, surrounded by hardwood. And we just wanted to come in and clean that up. There was a lot of privet, a lot of overgrown muscadine, whereas over here on this end, there was a couple of hardwoods and herbaceous growth that needed to be cleared. So, how we accomplished this project, as said before, Dan gave us tools. He gave us a bandsaw, loppers, and a machete. Or, well, we provided our own machete and eventually had to provide our own loppers. We did have to go buy some. The only available ones that we were issued from the school were a little malfunctioning, but that's okay. We got it done. And we used these tools to clear the slash and reduce the potential of any sort of controlled burn in the future, giving off embers to float over, reach the other side, just really trying to prevent an out of control burn. The two of us both applied 10 hours of physical labor towards this project. We wanted to do more, but again, time constraints. We did this over the course of several days by working together. There were days we worked individually or individually with other groups as well. And again, all of that effort was put on two different Firebreak lines. So we hit a couple snags with this project. At the beginning, we went out on one of the first days that we had available to work, and tried to work on. Let me see if I can go back here. Oh, it's going backwards on me. So we started here and got to a point at which we just couldn't figure out where that pre-existing trail was and how to continue on this trail. So we decided after about an hour's worth of work, to call it quits for that day, and we would be back out at our next available opportunity. Unfortunately, that didn't happen until after other groups had already worked on that Firebreak and actually completed it. So we had to contact Dan and figure out an alternate location so that we could complete our project. Luckily, with this second location, there was a pre-existing trail surrounding the perimeter of this pine stand, and it needed some cleanup, touch up, and finishing. So we were given that as a secondary location. That is where we spent most of our hours on this project. We came very close to connecting. We started on one end one day, and then the next day and every day thereafter, started actually on that other end. It kind of made a loop around. We came very close to finishing that whole loop, coming back to the other end, but we weren't, just due to time constraints, we just weren't able to quite make that happen. But it won't take much to complete that.
So here are some progress pictures for when we started the project. Right here, this picture right here is an after picture. We didn't get a before picture of the first line that we were given to clear off, and this is where we spent about an hour. We cleaned it off, widened it, and to make it more accessible. And then over here is the beginning of the second location in which we were given to clear off and make it accessible for UTV, ATV, and brush hog. in this second location, there was a ton of overgrown privet laying, hanging over the trail, as well as muscadine interlaced between the privet branches, and it just created a big, thick wall of unwanted stuff, unwanted species on the trail. So we cut them back to remove them, and so we could clear it out.
And then here's another progress picture. These are actually kind of reversed because this was taken back up this angle, as most of our before and after pictures are. One thing that I found to be pretty neat was after clearing all of this is privet and muscadine over here, and this area right here that comes out so much, you can see how dark it is in there, is this same spot right here. It's very interesting to me to see just how thick that privet was coming over this trail, that it kept the sunlight from the ground. And as you can see, the grass growing back here versus down here, there's just nothing. It was so thick it wouldn't let sunlight through to the ground. Okay, and then here's another. Now these are, again, standing and looking back up. Over here, we're standing just on this picture. We're standing just past these two little sycamore saplings. You can see the muscadine that we've cut away, just kind of flattened it out, and just made it wider. Okay, then kind of a bigger area that you see that we've cleared out. Just all this overhanging. We got it cut down and pulled back into either side. And this was before we worked on this edge and got this stuff cut down, and just really tried to reduce room for hazards.
And so the ending results for the project, were, I mean, time constraints prevented us from completing both lines that we worked on, but due to the fact of our jobs, our other classes, but in all, a majority of the perimeter around the particular pine stand was cleared in preparation for control burn, for future control burn, and then to complete and connect the lines together in the future will be very manageable due to the fact of how much we cleared out on the particular break of the secondary location. As the first location had been completed by other groups that were participating in the same project. So overall, a majority of the work got done for the two locations that we were given, minus the fact that there's a little spot still left to connect the two lines on the secondary location.
And then maintenance of, what we cut back and what we maintained. It take very little effort, very little time, and we're both confident in the effectiveness of what we did clear, that it will provide a safe environment for a control burn, and if, like we said, God forbid, any accidents happen, somebody can be accessed quickly and removed to safety. All right, and that's it for our presentation. I just want to follow up and say that I definitely enjoyed this project. It gave me the opportunity to work on skills that I know I personally lacked, such as maintaining good communication with stakeholders, or for example, if I were to go into wildlife consulting, I know personally I have trouble communicating with people, especially people I've never met before. This got me out of that shell, despite having known Dan and Mr. Hall for the 2 years that I've been at ABAC. But it really helped me form how to speak to them on a professional level to get something done in a professional capacity. Um, Another thing that I enjoyed was actually learning how to make a fire break, prescribe burns, and working them is something that I know I will use as I advance in my career as a natural resource manager. Um, and it just was a really good opportunity to develop those skills.
And personally, for me, this project overall taught me and helped me with skills such as just as Bailey with communication with stakeholders. I've never been one that was good at communication, and through this project, it has helped me learn how to professionally communicate with a stakeholder to get a project successfully done. In the past, I have created fire breaks, but new this project has showed me different methods to which I have not used before on how to create a fire break and learning. And I feel in prescribed fire in the future, prescribed fire interests me. So in the future, I would like to be able to get my certification, and I feel like this would help me with that and knowing how to create a fire break and maintain a fire break to prevent a fire from jumping a break.
Okay. And just tack on to that, it was an excellent group project. I've always been more of a person to do all the work in a project, and working with Adam has been incredibly enjoyable because we both get held accountable for the work we do and made sure to keep each other on task, and just really genuinely feel like we both put in an even amount of work into this project, and I am happy to have it completed. All right, thank you.